Welcome to today's lesson on equations with variables. Before we begin today's discussion, let's talk about some vocabulary words. What is an equation and what is a variable? An equation is the same thing as a number sentence. So an equation has numbers on either side of an equal sign that are balanced. Variables are when we use letters such as A, X, or Y to represent a number. So if I told you that I had an equation of x plus 3 equals 5, the variable in this equation would be x. When you're solving an equation with a variable, it can be really fun. It's almost like solving a mystery. Here, let me show you what I mean. If we have the equation 3 plus x equals 8, we need to solve what the variable x is worth. Now there's a couple ways that you can go through this problem. You can say 3 plus what equals 8. We know that if we add 3 plus 5, then we get an amount of 8. So we know that x is equal to 5. But sometimes problems won't be this simple. Sometimes what you need to do is find the inverse operation. Whoa, that was a really big word. Let's try that again. You need to find the inverse operation. Now, it's a large word, but we can simplify it. Inverse means opposite. So instead of adding, the opposite of adding is subtracting. So if we say 8 minus 3, that's going to give us our mystery amount x. 8 minus 3 equals 5. So we know that x equals 5. Let's go ahead and solve another problem. This time we're going to use multiplication. Let's say that we have 7x equals 28. Now remember, when you're working with an equation that has a variable, multiplication is when you have the number and the variable right next to each other. So we have 7 times x equals 28. So there's two ways that we can approach this problem. We can say 7 times what equals 28, or we can use the inverse operation. Well, what's the opposite of multiplication? That's right, division. So if we take 28 and we divide it by 7, we're going to find out what this mystery number x means. All right, 28 divided by 7 equals 4. So we know that x equals 4. All right, are you ready to investigate some more variables? Let's go through some practice problems, and this would be a great time to pause your screen and work through these problems on your own. And then you can press play and check your work. All right, here we go. Your first problem. 44 divided by x equals 4. 36 minus x equals 24. Let's solve. 44 divided by what equals 4? Well, the opposite or inverse of division is multiplication. So 4 times what equals 44? Well, 4 times 11 equals 44. So we know that x equals 11. All right, let's go through our next problem. 36 minus x equals 24. What's the inverse of subtraction? Well, the opposite of subtraction is addition. So 24 plus what is going to equal 36? 24 plus 12 equals 36. So that means that x equals 12. Let's take a moment to review what you've learned in today's lesson. When you're writing an equation that is written with a variable, you want to identify what that variable is worth. So we have x right here, and we're trying to decide how much is x worth. So there's two ways you can look at this problem. You can say 2 plus what equals 9, Or you can find the inverse operation of addition, which is subtraction, and say 9 minus 2 equals blank. And that's going to give us the value for x. So we know that 9 minus 2 equals 7. We also know that 2 plus 7 equals 9. So we know that x equals 7.